talk with people. I like to ask questions. I was curious, and I sensed that I was a natural developer and kind of maximizer of people. So I knew in some capacity I wanted to be working with people. But no, I didn't know that this is where I would be right now, as I'm probably not sure where I'll be surprised where I end up in another 20 years. So I think that's exciting to some extent, right? If we live in a way that we're open to possibilities. And as I coach clients, I hope to inspire that confidence that they can grow into what is next. So if you're kind of in a place where you're not sure, and you feel like, oh, maybe I'm stuck, or maybe I have a couple of different ideas, that's okay. In fact, I think there are probably a number of different paths that could make you happy. As long as they are tied to your individual values, your personal interests, your personal strengths, and preferences. So when I work with clients, we do some of that self-exploration to identify what are those patterns and themes, interests, values, skills, interests. And then we see how does that align with various industries. So we kind of do some of that exploration work together when I'm working more, having a career coaching focus with a client. And once you have clarity on what is my target, then we talk about how to do the industry research, how to rebrand yourself, right? When you come into a room and you're going to give what's called an elevator pitch, you stick out your hand and you smile and you say, hi, my name is. In the next 30 to 60 seconds, what is it that you're going to say about yourself that's memorable, interesting, and clear, right? So I help people create and craft that brand or that message once they know who or what their target is. And then we move on to branding in the sense of resumes, cover letters. How do you show up in those documents? Are you using the buzzwords that are a part of the industry that you're hoping to target? And that brand also is online, right? Does anybody have a LinkedIn profile maybe? Or you're aspiring to have a LinkedIn profile, right? Maybe you have Twitter, maybe you have Instagram. Hopefully you've got a good, positive message out there. So we can talk about branding from that standpoint, the materials that you have. And then networking strategies, things like informational interviews. You might be deciding between a couple of jobs, so oftentimes I will direct my clients to go find professionals in the community that are doing something that interests them, and to sit down and ask some questions. Tell me on a day-to-day basis what you do, right? What are the challenges that you face in your job? What are the things that you really like? What type of training do you need? And that can really open up a vision for what is possible. Maybe do a gaps analysis and identify maybe some skills or some certifications that you need to move in that direction. So my undergrad is actually in communications. Like I said, I wanted to be a newscaster. I ended up deciding that I would go back for a master's in counseling. I felt like for me, I wasn't helping in a deeper level. So I actually started to interview career coaches, therapists, social workers, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to be on a university campus, if I wanted to have my own business. So I kind of identified all of the possible people that I admired, and I found people on LinkedIn. Some people I just blindly reached out to and said, hello, you don't know me, but I'm thinking about going into this area. Do you have 20 minutes that I could ask you a couple of questions? And I came to that conversation very prepared with some questions to use their time wisely. Some people let me come to their office so I could see what their office looked like. Some people just got on the phone, which was helpful. So I ended up, through some of those conversations, I found a woman who had a master's in counseling and was doing career coaching or career counseling. And I walked into her office and there was just this feeling that I wanted to be her. And I did a bunch of reading. So if you're interested in coaching, there's something called the International Coaching Federation, which is the body for coaching. Because I'm trained as a counselor, I kind of wear both both hats of kind of the mental health piece. So I'm also a part of memberships with the American Counseling Association, but I'm also tied into groups like the Maryland Career Development Association and the National Career Development Association. So if you're interested in getting into coaching, you want to find these professional organizations that allow you to start reading and getting involved there. So I guess my story's longer, but through some networking while I was in my master's program, I ended up starting work at the Johns Hopkins Carey Business School as a career coach. One of my professors was over the career development office, and I said, I think I want to go into career counseling. And he said, well, great, we need an intern. And I said, wow, great, I'm on board. So I started there in a small capacity and then kind of worked my way up. So it's safe to say probably most of you are kind of exploring and trying to get clarity on what's next. Well, I think part of the work that I do as a coach or a counselor is I help people tap into the answers that I think that they already have. I don't come and I don't say, I think you should be an engineer, or based on what you said, I think you should open up your own business. I come with a very non-judgmental perspective. It's not my choice or decision. I'm there to aid and support, collaborate with my client to help them make choices that feel good for them. So I ask a lot of questions and I give feedback based on what people are sharing. So if someone says, XYZ is interesting to me, I might reflect and say, when you told me about that, I noticed that you started to smile and there was a lot of energy behind that. Can you tell me more? And sometimes that just opens up the door for someone to feel comfortable to kind of explore that further. So it's a lot about asking questions and helping people navigate to what is kind of their own truth or whatever's going to emerge. Yes, I'm there to inspire their potential, and at the same time, we also process through things because sometimes it's hard, or sometimes it's scary to go talk to someone you haven't talked to before, or to put yourself out there and apply for a job. So I think just reminding people that they're human sometimes can be kind of grounding and a good reminder that it doesn't happen in a day. And some of the most successful people and brands that we know, there's a story of quote-unquote failure behind that. Oftentimes, I like the quote that says, either you succeed or you learn. That you don't fail, that you learn or you're gifted with experience as you try new things, as you take risks that make sense to learn more. So it's a process, and I think also keeping yourself in a place that you're willing and able to continue to take a risk can be sometimes challenging. And so when I think about healthy thinking, sometimes we don't even see how we get in our own way, the barriers that come up, the messages maybe we've learned from childhood, or maybe we have told ourselves over and over again, I can't do that, or I'll never be good at that, or so-and-so is better at that, right? And sometimes that limits us before we even take a step out there. Yeah, how many times do we complete the story of a story that hasn't been told? No, I think they're going to be too busy. They're not going to want to help me, right? Before we even pick up the phone or we send an email. Yeah, that's huge. I would say that many times people are willing to help. I think it depends, the message that you're presenting, if you can be clear about that. It probably depends who you're reaching out to. If it's the CEO of Google, that may not result in an email back, but if it's someone local or maybe part of your alumni association or in a community like this, people are so happy to help and connect you. Over 80% of jobs are found through networking, those connections you make. So yeah, Bob.